Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's video, we're going to discuss whether you should use a stored value or a calculated value in a field in Microsoft Access. Generally, the rule of thumb for good database design is if you can calculate a value, you should calculate it and not store it in the table. However, there are some exceptions, and we're going to talk about those exceptions in this video. Here we go. Usually, I begin the Tech Help videos with the question, but first today, before I give you the question, I want to go over some basic theory. Now, we've got a prerequisite first. If you don't know what calculated query fields are, where you perform a calculation in a query, go watch my calculated fields video first. There's the URL on your screen. I'll put a link down below in the links section so you can go click on it. But go watch that first. If you don't know what calculated fields are, then you're not going to understand the rest of this video. And when I say calculated query fields, I mean query fields. Do your calculations in queries. The calculated field data type in tables, that's evil. Don't use it. I hate that. Stay away from it. So now that we know what calculated query fields are, the question is, and the gist of this video is, do we calculate that value on the fly all the time, or do we calculate it once and store it in the table? Now, usually, if you can calculate a value, and it's the same calculation every time, it is best to do so. Here, for example, you can see the customer last first query that we built in the blank template, right? It's just last name, comma, first name, but it's a calculated field, and it's always the same, right? Take the last name, comma, space, first name. Done. Here's another one, extended price from our order detail, right? Quantity times the unit price is the extended price. That's always the same. It never changes. It is rare to store calculated values in the table. Lots of people email me. They say, hey, I did this thing in the query and it's not saving in the table. I have to use it for something else. Well, no, it's a calculated value. You're going to use that query to get that value. You're going to base your forms and your reports and your other queries on that calculated field in the query. One of the major reasons why you want to calculate it is because if you change the formula, if you change the calculation, and you have that value stored in the table, now you've got to go change all those values, either manually or with an update query. So this is why for things like extended price, you want to calculate it. If something is date specific, it's going to constantly change. That's why you'd use a calculated field, like years as a customer, right? Today's date is going to change every time you open this query. So if you want to display that value on the customer form or in a report, as of today, you're going to want to use a calculated value for that. If you're going to decide to store a value, let's say in the customer's record, you have to control all points of data entry for that field. Now, we already know giving your users direct table access is bad. If you've taken even my Access Beginner 1 class, I tell you, your end users should never work directly in the tables. You as the developer, maybe, if you've got some reason, if you want to go in there and tweak some stuff, okay, fine. But generally, people using the database, even you, should go through the forms. Now, even in our simple free Tech Help template, I've got 3 different forms that are based on the customer table, right? There's the customer list, the basic customer query, then the customer query with the context subform. If I do a stored value, okay, and it's based on a calculation, then I've got to make sure I update that in 3 different places, right? The code to change that has to be in 3 different places. Like that last name, first name. If that was a stored value, not a calculated value, but a stored value, I'd have to make sure that put the whatever code updates that in 3 different forms. So that can be cumbersome. So you got to make sure if you are going to use a stored value, you've got to update all of the calculations. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule. All right. Usually I say generally, yes, 90% of the time you're going to calculate the value. But there are exceptions. The number one exception is if you need to manually edit the value. And that's actually going to be the point of the question today. The person's asking me. She has to be able to manually edit it. She wants to use a formula to figure something out, but she wants to be able to override it. And that's what brought up this particular video. But there are some other instances too where you might be better off storing a value. If you do a lot more reporting than data entry or edits. In other words, if you get, let's say, summary information every day, you got to enter in some data, okay? And every day, all day long, you've got dozens of people on your network constantly pulling reports off of this information. Big queries, lots of data. You're constantly pulling information, especially over a network, right? If you don't update it, maybe you make one little change here and there, okay? But you're constantly reporting on it. It might make sense to save that value in the table because the amount of editing is tiny. The amount of lookups and the calculations required is very great. If you're doing a lot of lookups on a value, especially if you're looking up something from a different table, then you might want to consider storing that data instead of looking it up constantly over and over and over and over again, right? Especially if that value is based on an aggregate, like if you're doing customer order totals, for example. You want to store a value that's how many orders, right? What's the total dollar amount that this customer's worth? Well, every time you pull that up, it's got to calculate and add up all of their orders. If you do that, if you perform that function a lot, multiple times a day, okay, you may want to consider storing that information. If it's something you look up once in a while, no, leave it as a calculated value. And especially an exception is if you want to speed up your database, especially over a network. Okay, pulling down lots of records constantly over and over again, right, over that wire. Especially if you're not using a database server. If you're just using a Microsoft Access backend, this can slow things down. Whereas if you store the value, it might speed things up. Now, I'm not saying go out and change all your calculated values to stored values. Remember, these are exceptions to the rule. This is probably going to be like 1% of the time you might want to do this. Okay? So use a stored value if you need to manually edit it. Okay, that goes without saying. You can't use a calculated value if there's ever a chance that you have to manually change it. You can use a calculation to give you a default value or to say, hey, it should be this. And then, of course, you have to store the value in the table by manually editing it. All right, use a stored value if the calculation is based on an aggregate from values in other tables and your database is running slow. Like I said, if you're constantly pulling information like customer credit limits and it's got to constantly make multiple calculations on thousands of records and things are running slow, you might want to consider storing that value. All right, use a calculated value if the formula is always the same and especially if it's based on fields in the same record, like that extended price, right? All those fields are right in that same record. So you don't have to do any lookups in other tables. So calculate that. And if you're more concerned with proper database normalization than performance, if you want to make sure your database is built properly and that it's a little more bulletproof and you don't want to take any shortcuts, okay, and performance isn't totally a big deal, then use the calculated value. Because calculated values are technically the right way to build it. All right, storing a value that should be calculated for database performance technically goes against the rules, but I say there's theory and then there's real-world practice. And sometimes you got to make little shortcuts to get your database to run better, even though it's not theoretically the best way to do it. Okay? Let me give you an example of when it's better to store a value that should be calculated. Let's take into consideration social media. All right, social media posts generally have likes associated with them, right? Little likes down here. You click the like button, right? And it adds them all up and shows you. Whether it's Facebook or Twitter, or soon on my site. I'm going to be adding likes pretty soon on my site too. But the post itself is going to get many times more views than likes, right? This particular post is going to be seen by, let's say, 10,000 people. Okay? And maybe out of those 10,000 people, 13 of them are going to click on that like button. So you want to optimize this for viewing. All right? So for viewing the information, for reading the information. That little tiny, 1 in 1,000 people that actually click on the like button, that's minuscule. The like data is going to be stored in a separate table so you can track which users liked the post, right? If you hover your little mouse over that 13 likes, it shows you a list of all the people who liked your post. And that's important data to save if you care about who liked the post. So that's all in a separate table. Okay? That's basic relationships 101. We don't store that in the post table, let's call it. Okay? Now, to speed up views for that post, let's call it a post, right? To speed up the views, you're going to store a count of those likes in the post table, which is only updated when someone clicks that like button. Right? This here table's got the post data in it, like the post ID, the number of likes, the person who posted it, the description, the full whatever. Okay, this is the post table. So if you're going to display this information 10,000 times, all you have to do is read one little value out of one record, or out of one table. If you didn't store this value, what would have to happen? If you want to display post 1,000, right? You want to display the number of likes, now you got to go to the likes table, count up all the 1,000s, there's 5 of them, and then display it. And this has to happen 10,000 times, all right, for 10,000 views, versus just displaying that number 5. And the 13 times out of that 10,000 that someone actually clicks like, all you got to do is add a record in here and update that field. But you have to make sure that you update this field anytime someone likes or unlikes your post. See, there's a little more maintenance involved on your end, the programmer. You can't just issue a decount. You gotta track values in 2 tables. So there's a little more work involved. All right, but it will greatly speed up your performance. So now with all of that theory under our belt, let's actually get to the question. Today's question comes from Bryce in Washington, D.C., one of my Platinum members. Bryce says, I give my customers a percentage discount based on the time they've been a customer. For example, after a year, they get a 5% discount. After 2 years, it's 7%, and so on. I need the ability to manually change it, however. So right there, you guys can see she has to manually change it. So that means we're talking stored value and not just a calculation. She continues, I give some customers a higher discount if they've made a lot of purchases. Others get none. It depends on many factors, and one of those factors is that it's completely up to me. LOL. How do I track this in Access? Well, Bryce, this is one of those situations where you can't just use a calculated value because you need the ability to manually change it, which is one of the things I said earlier. Now, in your case, what I would recommend is to display 2 fields on the customer form. All right? Display the actual discount that you've given them, and a second field would show what it should be based on how long they've been a customer. Now, that value is going to change. So if you have customer A place an order today, okay, their discount is going to show as 0 because they haven't been a customer for a year yet. Now they come back 6 months later and want to place an order, and it still shows 0 because they haven't been a customer for a year yet. Now they come back after a year, their discount's still 0 because it's a manual stored value, but that second field will show and say, hey, they should have a 5% discount. Do you want to change it? All right, we can even use some conditional formatting to make it look red. So who's ever going to put the order in is like, oh, you now qualify for a 5% discount. But you don't want the system to automatically change it because you want to be able to manually make that edit. So I'm going to show you how I would implement this in Microsoft Access. Okay, so here I've got a copy of my Tech Help free template. This is a free download from my website. You can go grab a copy if you'd like. It's absolutely free. I'll put a link down below in the downloads section. In here, I've got a customer form with a customer since field. That's a date field. We can use that to figure out how long they've been a customer for. So let's put a value in the customer table. Bryce needs to be able to manually update this, so it has to be a field in the table. So we'll call it discount rate. That'll be a number. And I'm going to make this a double format as a percentage. So 0.01, for example, will be 1%. It just makes calculations easier. Okay, and you can also have fractional discounts, right? 12.5%. Default value 0 is good. Close this. Save changes, yes. Let's drop it in the form now. Right-click, Design View. We can just copy one of these other fields here. I'll copy family size. Copy, paste. Slide it down here. Right, this will be the discount percentage. That's fine. Open this guy up. This will be the discount rate. And make sure you copy the name up here too. And the format, we'll put % in there. All right, save that. Close it up. Open it back up again. And for this one here, I'll put a discount percentage in for 10%. Okay, and remember, that's at the bottom of the tab order now. So if you hit tab, it's going to go to the next record. Okay, now, this is all fine and dandy, but Bryce also wants to be able to see what their discount rate should be, all right, based on the calculation. So what we'll do then is we'll just simply add an unbound calculated field down here. So copy, paste. All right, we'll change this here. This should be, like that. I like to make calculated values gray, so I'll just gray that out a little bit. Not too dark, like maybe there. Yeah. All right, now open this guy up. Okay, and we'll put in here, the name of this field is going to be discount calc for calculated discount rate, and the control source is going to be where we'll put our function that will display what this calculation should be. Now, we'll use Bryce's calculations. She says if they've been a customer for 2 years, then it's 7%. Otherwise, if it's been a year, they get 5%. Otherwise, it's 0. All right, that's a pretty straightforward, simple calculation. I'm going to use the switch function. If you've never used the switch function before, go watch my video on the switch function. I'll put a link down below in the links section. Switch is basically like a nested if function. So it's equals switch. Let me zoom in so you can see this better. There we go. All right, switch, and it's just it's expressions with values to use if the expression's true. For example, if now I'm gonna calculate years roughly. Yeah, we could get exact years with a more complicated calculation, but this is good enough for just doing something simple like this. All right, there's 365 days in most years, right? So 730 days in 2 years. So I'm going to say if today's date minus customer cents, and in queries and in field properties, usually I like to play it safe and put the brackets around there. You don't always have to. All right, but if that is greater than 730, comma, what to make this value? 0.07. All right, that's 7%. Otherwise, all right, if that evaluates to true, they've been a customer for 2 years or more, give them the 7%, now we're done. It stops checking there. Someone asked me this the last time after the switch function, because the next one is going to be more than a year, which technically they both are true, but it's short circuit evaluates. In other words, once the first condition is true, you're done. It exits the function. Okay? So the next value is if date minus customer cents, if that's greater than 365, comma, give them 0.05. Okay? Otherwise, for all other values, give them a 0. How do you represent that? I say 1 equals 1, comma 0. If 1 equals 1 is always true, so if they get this far, they'll always get the 0. Make sense? Okay. If you want to make it false, then just make it 1 equals 0. Okay. Hit OK. That puts that in there. So this is our calculated value. This is what it should be. All right, save that. Close it, open it back up again. All right, so this guy's got a 10% discount. He should have a 7% discount. He's been a customer for a lot of years, right? 18 years, is that? Now, see, this value is for display purposes only, okay? We're not calculating this on the fly for every single customer. If you run a report, okay, that's based on this value, and you've got 10,000 customers in your database, okay, this value is now calculated for each customer as you go to the customer. So if I go over here now, I can see this customer should have a 7% discount. So now let's fill it in here. Now what I can do here is I can simply copy and paste this value like this. Copy and paste. Okay, and we're good. Or we could even make a little button here to click on it, and it copies that value up there. In fact, let me show you how to do that. This is bonus material. All right, bonus material. Usually I don't go over a lot of programming in the Tech Help free ones, not because I'm holding back on you, but because I know a lot of beginner users watch the Tech Help free videos, and usually my more advanced users are the members. But I'm going to show you real quick. If you've never done any VBA programming before, go watch my Intro to VBA video. It's free. It'll give you all the basics. Okay, it's, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes long. Go watch it. All right, let's make a little button right here. I'll just copy the context. Actually, one of these buttons here I think has an embedded macro in it. Let me see what we got here. Event. Okay, that's an event procedure. Event procedure I can steal. All right, so I'm just going to copy and paste this one. I'm going to slide it down here, and I'm going to say apply. All right, in other words, that's what they should have. I want to apply that value, apply that discount to up here, right? So that's discount rate, and this one's discount calc. All right, so it's real easy. I'm going to right-click, build event. There's a build event. It's way up top there. Build event, or you can come over here on the on-click event. See, on-click event right there. Either one works. You might get asked what builder you want. Pick the code builder if you've never done any VBA programming before. All right, I'm inside private sub 34, command 34 click. Yeah, I should have given the button a name first, but I'm skipping that step for today. Okay, Alex can yell at me. All right, so what am I doing? I'm just going to say here we're applying the value from discount calc. So we're going to say discount rate equals discount calc. That's it. That's all you got to do. One line of code. See, it's not scary. See? Come back over here, save that, close it. All right, now I'm going to apply. That's going to copy that 7 up to there. Boom, done. See? That's it. See how easy that is? So simple. VBA is so easy to learn. Now, what you could also do, if you want, and this is totally up to you, but you could also say, okay, if I navigate to someone who doesn't have a discount rate, automatically give them that default. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, I would suggest go back to the customer table. All right? Go to discount rate. Get rid of that 0 in there. Don't default people to 0. Unless you want 0. If you want that 0, leave the 0. Okay? But, save changes, yes. But, if you want to default that, you can use something called the onCurrent event. I've got videos on the onCurrent event too. All right, I'll put a link in the thing too down below. onCurrent. Okay? OnCurrent event is an event that runs when you move from record to record, including when the form opens and the first record loads. So go to the form properties right there, find the events, onCurrent, okay, ... code builder. Here I am in the form current event. Right here I can say if is null discount rate, then discount rate equals discount calc. End if. So in other words, if they don't have a discount rate already, give them the default discount, whatever's in that value. All right, close it, save it, open it back up again. Now if I move to someone who doesn't have one, it puts it in automatically, and you can't really see it happening, but it's happening. All right, now here, I'm on this guy. All right, his customer sense is showing up as blank, so he gets a 0. See that? If you go to a new record, it'll also be a 0. See? Let's do someone who's, what was it, a year? Should give a 5. So let's change this person here. Let's see, what's today's day? I'm going to hit Control semicolon 3321. So if I make this just over a year, if I go 3120, yep, now they got a 5% discount calculated. Okay, and if I hit apply, they get that. If I delete that, now it's null. If I leave the record and come back to it, that default value gets repopulated because it was null and the onCurrent event set it to 5. See? That's up to you, Bryce. If you don't want to do that, if you want to leave it 0, now if you want it to be 0, don't make it null. Put a 0 in there. And then that onCurrent event won't change it because you've made it 0. All right, see how that works? Now that's the benefit of using a stored value, is you can have the calculation, and you can even use that calculation to give you a default value. Okay, I wouldn't put that in the default value of this field simply because when you create a new record, the customer sense is going to default to now. So it's going to be stupid. It's always going to be 0. Okay, I would leave it in the onCurrent event. Want this guy to be red if these two are different? Because you might come back later, right? Like next year, like I said, you might open this up and be like, oh, you had the 5% discount. Now you qualify for a 7% discount, right? I want to apply the new one or not based on my decision. So let's use a little conditional formatting. But wait, there's more bonus material. I should put like a big thing on the screen. But wait, there's more, right? Okay, so let's use a little conditional formatting. If you've never done conditional formatting, I got videos on that. There's conditional formatting, and there's the expression is conditional formatting too, which is a separate video. But we can come in here, pick this guy, go to Format, Conditional Formatting, right? Add a rule. say the field value is, I can't see it. All right, field value is not equal to what value? Well, it's actually a field, so make sure here you put it inside of brackets for a field. Otherwise, it'll put quotes around it, and that's not what you want. All right, if it's not equal to discount rate, like that, in brackets, and then set whatever color you want. So you want background red, foreground white, and maybe bold it. All right, so that'll be applied if the value is not the discount rate. All right, save it, close it, open it up. Oh, look, that one's red. That visually tells you, oh, maybe I should apply that. Okay, now it's both 7%. Let's go check someone else out. Oh, this guy's a 5%. He should be, he's 0 and he should be 5. I want to leave him, though. He's a bit of an ass. I want to leave him at 0. All right, next, 7s. Okay, good, good, good. See, this way when you open up a customer, you'll see if they should have a discount or not. Okay. All right, looking good. So you can see this system gives us the ability to have a calculated field that shows us what the value should be. And we can even use it as a default value if we want to. But because it's a stored value, we have the ability to manually change it. All right, so we're getting the best of both worlds here. And we also have the benefit of, if we do lots and lots of reporting on this value, it'll run much faster because it doesn't have to run this function, this calculation, every time you run a report. The value is stored in the table. Want to learn more? In the extended cut for members, I'm going to show you how to do the same thing, but with a much more complex discount formula. We used a very simple formula to calculate the customer discount, right? There's basically one criteria with 2 little values in it, okay? What if you want to base it on, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, different tiers in there? Then we also have to give them extra bonus points based on the amount of total orders they placed, right? If the customer has ordered at least $2,000 worth of stuff, give them an extra point of discount, and so on. All right, so multiple criteria, looking up from different tables. Okay, the whole reason why you want to store this data in the first place is because you got a crazy complex formula calculating that value. All right, we'll build a custom function in a public module. All right, then we'll build an update query to apply that same value to all of the previous customers in the database who might not have a discount rate assigned. So you're not just necessarily waiting for someone to open up that customer record, just assign it with an update query. Okay, that's all covered in a half-an-hour long extended cut for the members. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut videos, and there's well over 100 of them now, so it's a very good value. How do you become a member? Click the Join button below the video. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different types of membership levels that are available. Silver members and up will get access to all of the extended cut tech help videos, live video and chat sessions, and more. Gold members get access to a download folder containing all the sample databases that I build in my Tech Help videos, plus my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus access to my full beginner courses and some of my expert courses. These are the full-length courses found on my website and not just for access. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, ASP, and lots more. But don't worry, these free Tech Help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and feel free to post any comments that you have. I do read them all. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Click on the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of building databases with Access. It's over 3 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. And it's also free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my Tech Help page and you can send me your question there. Click here to watch my free Access Beginner Level 1 course, more of my tech help videos, or to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching this video from accesslearningzone.com.